is the minutes of our last meeting. Do we have a motion?
I guess that would be me.
And I'll second. And all in favor?
I'll say aye.
I'll say aye. And the vote carries 2-0 with 1 absent. And I don't mind moving on to item B1, the Seraphian project update. And why don't we go ahead and get started, and hopefully Trustee Silver will join us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm kind of in the background pointing to my boss a little bit because she's the IT person and I'm not. I'm the hammer person. So we do have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation we're going to try to share with you on the screen.
Great.
Is this currently disabled, Alex, if we can have the ability to share?
Try again, please.
And there's Trustee Silver.
Perfect timing.
Hey, Tammy, quick update. We approved the minutes from the last meeting. We called the meeting to order. No public comment, and we're just starting on our first agenda item, which is the Seraphian building update.
Thank you. Sounds good.
So good evening, everybody. We're gonna start off with the Seraphian building update. This is an overhead view. I'm not sure exactly where we got it from, but it was an interesting picture. As you can see, top of screen would be west. To your left is south, and then to your right is north. So that's what it looks like from the overhead. We can go ahead and go, Candace, to the next slide. So phase 1 demolition, we're approximately 85% done. Even though it looks like a lot of stuff has happened and the building is going away, we still have all of the foundations and points of connection for the utilities to demolish. We should be done with the remainder of the northwest section of the elevator tower. That's kind of the rubble you can see in the bottom picture on this slide, over to your left-hand side across from Shadford Library. That will be all cleaned up by the end of this week. Then we're going to be moving on to haul off and working on the foundation and underground utilities. The contractor's still holding with a November 30th completion date. Realistically, we're probably looking at somewhere in December, mid-December, for them to have the site prepped and ready for the next contractor. So if we thought this would be fun, the next 2 slides, or actually this slide, Candace, if you hover on the bottom part of that one, we're gonna, in case you weren't here, this is what happened yesterday. So that was the overhang section. And if we go to the next one to the right, I believe hover over and we can get, here's another perspective.
Wow.
Richard, if you told me this was happening, I would have come down to watch.
Well, I got caught off guard too. We knew it was kind of happening, and they had collapsed the top story onto the next story of that overhang. And I came back from lunch and they were over nibbling on the concrete to expose some more of the beams. And I looked at it and I said, it will come down on Tuesday. And I got back to the office in a little while, or no, actually I ran into Eric in the C building a little later, and she had felt the C building kind of shook a little bit and ran out. I guess when they got in there and they started prepping it, it became unstable. And i.e. that's kind of where we were looking at why it was a seismic replacement anyway. It was a soft, what they call a soft story, with those big columns holding out that section. So they just went ahead and, moved expeditiously through pulling that from the side. The first slide was the first video. They actually they grabbed onto the column with a cable and kind of pulled it like a kickstand and forced it to fall over to that side. So that's where we're at with the demo. There it goes. You can kind of see the cable on your left side. Phase 2 construction, we did reach out. We are moving forward, as we talked about. We rejected the bids on recommendation. This will open up back bidding to both for all 5 pre-qualified bidders. We have an aggressive rebid schedule, which puts us about December 14th for bid opening. We would like to get our package up because it's first come, first serve with the state. We'd like to get that up as soon as we get it bid and the board conditionally approves award pending state approval. Once we do that, then we'll get it up for the state to go through Department of Finance to give us the go-ahead on that next portion of financing and go with the construction part. We're anticipating, because it takes the state about.
Richard, Trustee Osterling has his hand up.
Okay,
Richard, if it's appropriate, and only if it's appropriate, I'm curious, who was the prior winning bidder and who was the protester? And if it's not appropriate, just say so.
no, it's public record.
Okay.
So we would put out a recommendation to award to Bernard's. Bernard's was our lowest bidder. Our second lowest bidder was PCL. And they were about $1.5 million different in prices. We were very surprised. I think we briefed you last month on our expectation, given the current market, that we could have a delta of about 7 to 9 million off of the state estimate for the construction portion of that. And we came in almost right in the state's construction estimate. So we were doing real well, we felt, with that. We only had 3 responsive bidders. That was Balfour Beatty, Bernard's, and PCL. CW Driver had excused themselves earlier in the process, and PanCal was unable to upload their documents in time for the bid cutoff. So I'm anticipating 4, at least 4. I don't know if CW Driver, if their current schedule will allow them to bid, or if they're interested in bidding. But we're anticipating at least 4 bidders on the rebid.
And a follow-up question, and I know it's hard to project right now, but given what's going on with the construction costs and the supply chain, do you think on the rebid we're going to be looking at the same bid cost, or do you think we're going to be looking at a higher cost?
That was that was a conversation at lunch today. I'm not sure what we're going to get. So everybody's seen Bernard's bid. I'm going to guess that the difference in the bids were probably the overhead and profit of the general contractors. Because that was why CW Driver pulled out in the beginning. They said they looked at the field. They said, hey, we all use the same subcontractors. We're good right now. We got plenty of work. We're choosing not to bid this project. I believe that Bernard and PCL had 14 of 22 identified subcontractors in common. So I really, my gut feeling is you're really going to be looking at is who's willing to minimize their profit and overhead margins and budgets. I mean, we're seeing materials continue to go down in the market, but we're also, the big influence is going to be the steel. I don't know if steel is really fluctuating that much as compared to what we're seeing on the residential side and, lighter commercial day-to-day use. You are right, Jim. We are going to be looking at a supply chain issues. I'm seeing that even with my smaller projects now. So, and we're continuing to see labor issues also. I think that's one of their biggest problems with AMPCO is they were not able to provide adequate labor force for a number of months when they were doing the abatements, but they sure seemed to kick it up when they had to rent a piece of equipment. And that's what you're seeing is that large excavator, long reach excavator. They actually rented that and they've been using that, making short work of taking the building down over the last couple of weeks. So with all of that said, we're anticipating that by the time we get it back from Department of Finance to go ahead, we're looking at probably a March date, which represents about a 60-day slip from what we had originally anticipated. So that would still put us in, instead of a soft opening in spring of 2024, we would be looking at a opening, we'd be looking at a soft opening for the summer.
And a quick follow-up question, if you could go back to the prior slide. What's your experience on getting DSA to turn around? In other words, as I look at the schedule, it's contingent on the state reapproving and authorizing the award. And to me, that's the only uncertainty in the schedule that you're showing there. What's your experience?
Certainly. So DSA, we're good. We did not do any design changes, so it does not have to go into structural. We're talking strictly language in our bidding documents.
Okay.
So when I'm saying the state, it's not the regulatory construction arm of the state. It's the Department of Finance.
Gotcha.
And I think the last time, just about this time last year, we were stuck trying to get out the demolition portion, and Erica works some magic. And I'm hoping that if we get in a bind, she can reach into that bag of tricks again and
Okay.
maybe pull out another trick.
I will do my best.
All right, thank you.
Okay. The next slide is kind of like we threw in here, just existing facilities at a glance, just to give you some idea of what we're doing besides the Seraphim, because there is a lot of things going on campus. So from our meeting last week, I've reached out to HGA for the FMP edits, which will be, as we discussed last week, the pool location will stay where it currently is, and then they will just put a rehabilitation project in it. And then that southeast frontage, the Delmar Bonnie will just be kind of a placeholder with a possibility of a community service or community development or community. Oh God, I'm escaping my right second.
Yeah, it's like a community center. Community, yeah.
But we'll just put a placeholder there and then we can define that project a little bit better. One of my other, what I heard and what we're going to discuss is basically kind of a net zero parking expansion. So it's basically whatever we're losing, we would just be looking in the facilities master plan for amending. Well, actually, we already have the ITB area as designated as parking, but we would probably bring something in that subterranean parking, possibly under the community center. So that's kind of where we're going with HGA, and I'm going to put them on a tight timeline. We're going to want that so we can get it to the board in December, probably January board meeting. So that we can approve the master plan updates, so I can get it to Chambers Group, which is our environmental impact consultant. So we can finish up the environmental impact of the whole FMP, get that on public forum, and then we're off and running for our background for our bond initiative. Our active projects on existing facilities right now is R125 and 125A. That will be the health department offices, and 125A will be the new location for the Lancer Food Pantry. And then 520, 523 were previously the printmaking classrooms. Those are going to go back into general use classrooms. And so both of those projects have been awarded. We've had some rocky starts on 125. We previously had terminated for convenience a contract with Nazarian Group because they were experiencing, severe labor shortages and we were so far behind. So both of these projects are a go again, and we're going to finish those up. Projects in development, we have that the STEM building, which would be to the east of Serafian and augment the services provided on that side of campus. The STEM building feasibility study is out there. We're looking at the Child Development Center, fire alarm and new playground modernization, Galloway Plaza Food Court and Muir Pool modernization. Both of those projects are tied back to the goal of having them online, in addition to the Serafian building open for 2024 100-year celebration. Lots 4 and 5 are both have deferred maintenance projects, and then their HEPA air purifier permanent wall mounting projects. Yes, Trustee Osterling.
Thank you. Can you just give some more color on your second bullet point, the fire alarm, and the third bullet point, the Galloway Plaza Food Court? Oh, and pardon me, and then the last item, the HEPA purifier permanent wall mounting.
Certainly. So the Child Development Center currently has a fire alarm that's functional, but in our ability to certify that project, that fire alarm has been replaced prior to my tenure here at the college. And so I have a DSA certification item that I cannot clear because it's on a fire alarm system that's not in service there. So the best way to get out of it is, and we're due, is we're looking at Edwards fire alarms panels and systems, and we're looking to jumpstart the main campus being updated with a new central monitoring station with the CDC fire alarm project, and that will give us a certified project over there from its construction, and also will be the first cornerstone of this new fire alarm that would system that will go campus wide. And then the playground modernization portion of that is working with Brenda Trejo, who is the director over there, and this is to get a more tactile program for child development and her curriculum. Galloway Plaza Food Court, that was identified in the original master plan. It's in the center. If you think about how Galloway Plaza up at the top, adjacent to Shatford Library, that plaza is kind of in the round, I'll call it. And conceptually, that the new food court would be in the round, so to speak, in the center of that circle. With, in Rich's world, it would be 2-story and have a great view of right down the Boone Sculpture Garden and have a view of the Serafian C building and then back to Shatford Library. So that was that one. And then the HEPA air purifier permanent wall mounting, as we discussed last time, we have distributed the HEPA air purifiers on stands. So they're temporary stands, which makes them functional in all classrooms and offices. So we've got the coverage there for the current health conditions, but ultimately we wanted to get them up off the floors, and we bought wall mounted. So that is something we're working through with DSA on a design. So they will continue to be, quote, plugged in and working all the way, and then we will phase in the actual project to hard mount them on the walls. Okay. The last thing to round out would be our COVID response. We do have the enhanced cleaning standards to APA, and that's in classrooms and labs. That's the highest level of standard. In addition, we're adding custodial staff to meet the cleaning requirements for an increased spring occupancy level. We're anticipating business as usual in January. And in order to meet those stringent cleaning requirements while we're still in pandemic, we're going to be doing some additional staff hires of custodians. Yes, Trustee Oster.
Yeah, two questions on that subject. Number one, early on in the pandemic, we were told all of this cleaning was really important. And then at some point in time, the whole thing changed and they said, no, that's not the way that COVID transmits, but rather it's through the air and it's masks and all of this cleaning is unnecessary. And I wanted your commentary on that. And then also, what is APPA standard? I'm not familiar with that particular acronym.
Okay. Yes, we did hear that the transmission level from touch was very minor. I'm gonna use a word from Bob Lazinski when we talk about it with HR. It's optics. It's good cleaning practice. And basically we're cleaning to these standards and using these disinfectants on a daily basis, even before COVID. And so APPA is the Association of Physical Plants. And I can't remember what the last A was, but it is an industry standard. It's an association of physical plant operators, and together they take our collective knowledge and they end up coming up with standards that are across the industry. So when we talk about level 1 standard, that is talking about the frequency and to what degree of cleanliness we are. And it goes all the way down to, I think Erica's favorite when we first talked was level 5, moderate dingy. Oh no, that was neglect. I think level 4 is moderately dingy. So,
Yes, my campus at Los Angeles Valley College was known as moderately dingy.
Yeah, and then level 5 would be like complete neglect. And that would, so each one of these has a standard for how often you're cleaning how often you're cleaning common areas, how often you're servicing trash, how often you're vacuuming, dusting, etc.
So those are good cleanliness standards to have anyway. And are we paying for this with CARES Act funding?
Yeah, so the cleaning supplies, yes, we've leveraged CARES on additional cleaning equipment, and we also put our custodians through professional development on dealing with biohazards. And I believe that Candace, we had a discussion about staffing augmentation coming from CARES while we're working our way through the pandemic.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And I think with that, then I'm going to go to the last slide, which is questions.
I've already asked all mine.
Okay. Trustee Silver, Trustee Martin, do we have any questions tonight?
I just can't wait for the 100th anniversary celebration. And the last item. No questions. Sounds good.
No questions.
Then Trustee Martin.
No, I'm
Richard,
good.
I do have one additional question. I've been pumping you with information about ion generation to augment what we're doing with HEPA filters, and I just wanted to find out what you've learned about that and if that's something that we should implement or not.
We looked at when we first were looking at this, we looked at a couple of the different technologies. One of them was the information you sent over on the ion, and the other was the UV. And we just didn't see, and I think we're kind of still feeling that out as far as where are we at. Our HVAC systems are definitely in need of upgrade, and I will be looking for the bond because we have large systems and they cost quite a bit of money. I think we're covered right now in, we've upgraded to the HEPA, the HEPA classroom augmentation, those purifiers, in addition to MERV 13 filters, which is kind of the minimum hospital grade, that would take this out of the airborne stream. So I feel we're in a good position. It is a big issue. I just did my Division of State Architect inspection recertification, and indoor air quality. The state's really stepping into that. And I think that some of these newer initiatives, we will definitely want to design in as we come through and work on our infrastructure and the bond. I just, unless we get something really crazy, like some real big spikes, I don't think that we're going to see it from the air transmission on our current units. And then, like I said, we're looking at the UV, and the UV, if we did UV, that would be at the filter grids, because you have to have such a long period of contact time for the UV to work. And so anything that got caught in the filter would be killed with the UV light. But there may be particles that are smaller that don't get picked up in MERV 13 that would go downstream. So I don't think we're complete to completely understand everything, and it's a work in progress. And I think with the ion generating, we were looking at, I think the medical, I did a seminar with Train. I believe they were really looking towards, in the medical field, they were doing the hydrogen peroxide, which was kind of, they were splitting it out, and they were seeing a lot better results in those. But again,
tell me more about that. I'm not familiar with the hydrogen peroxide.
I'll have to send it over to you. I read it,
Yeah.
but that was another. It was kind of another. Let me write that down, and we'll get it posted up for a link if anybody's interested in looking at it.
Thank you.
Did I answer your questions?
You
Trustee
did.
Ostrom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? If not, I'd love to give you some of your evening back.
Well, I just want to say, thank you to both Richard and to Candace, because very, great presentation. And I feel like we've got a lot of stuff all organized and headed in the right direction.
And I just wanted to reiterate my comments from the studies session, and that is I really appreciate the administration's willingness to make changes at this late stage of the game and scramble around and do it quickly to our master plan to try to be responsive to the community. And I think the reward for that will be a more positive response to our bond issuance when we go for that. So thank you.
You are quite welcome. The facilities master plan was always designed to be a living document. So
Right.
you know what? We planned for what we knew at the time, but things change, and our world has definitely changed. So absolutely.
Yeah. Now, are we done for tonight? Awesome.
Yeah.
And Tammy and Erica, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, you will at the Eddies.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Richard.
Good night.
Candace.
Okay, thank
All right,
you,
good night.
trustees. Good night, Erica. Good night, Candace.
Good night.
Alex.
Thank you.